much for joining us, Lord Marland. I have a couple of questions just to get your perspective on Sri Lanka from the CWEIC's perspective as well. I'd like to start by asking you how you envision Sri Lanka leveraging its membership of the Commonwealth to accelerate its economic recovery.
Well, Sri Lanka has been one of the cornerstone countries of the Commonwealth when it was founded after its independence. So it's always been very active within the Commonwealth. And I think with your current president, who really gets the Commonwealth, Ranil Wickramasooriya, who has been involved with the Commonwealth, who's been associated with the United Kingdom through his contacts and relationships, and because of his outward-facing nature, he really understands the potential of the Commonwealth, and he would, without putting words into his mouth, I assume he would want to see the Sri Lanka access those markets. It's a third of the world's population, isn't it? Yeah. You're surrounded by Commonwealth countries here, the Maldives, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, just on your doorstep. Huge markets, growing markets. Bangladesh and India are the first and second fastest growing economies in the world. And to be able to tap in and access those, in addition to the channels that the country's already got, and very close channels, obviously, but to have a sort of complementary access to it, it must be a very good thing. I also think that Sri Lanka has got huge possibilities in Africa. Africa is going to be 1.4 billion population. 70% of the population are under 30, so it's a massive young population. It's a massive market. In certain countries it's growing very quickly. Sri Lanka has a lot to offer those countries: a hard-working workforce, an entrepreneurial workforce, an outward-facing workforce like any island state. And the UK, where I live, has to be outward-facing because we're a small country and need to get out into the market. So I think that Sri Lanka's got great opportunities in Africa in particular. Africa is going to be one of the most important places in the world for all manner of reasons: climate change issues, the young population issues, the food and famine issues that it has. And I think Sri Lanka can really help with its expertise and knowledge that it has here in accessing the market. And there are 16, 17, 18, soon to be probably, African countries who are members of the Commonwealth.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Would you be able to elaborate on the significance of CWEIC's engagement in Sri Lanka, particularly in terms of how you foster trade and investment partnerships and with businesses and the government?
Well, our relationship with the Sri Lankan government has been up and down, to be frank. Now it's up. They have returned as members of our organisation. So the reason for my visit here is to talk to ministers and to businesses here and see how that we can, use the markets that we have strong positions in. We have now got 10 and 11 offices overseas, or hubs as we call them, including one here in Sri Lanka. Being able to access those markets is very important. If you're a business and you want to trade internationally, it's actually a huge leap of faith. You're going into the unknown. You're going into a cost which you don't know how to equate to. So really what you want to do if you're going to go and do business in a new market, or think of going to do business, you want someone to hold your hand, in a sense, who's perhaps going to point you in the right direction, of a lawyer who's going to perhaps tell you what the rules of engagement are from a tax point of view, from a regulatory point of view, from a language point of view. But and therefore that is what we've set our organization up to do. So a Sri Lankan business wanting to invest, for example, or access the Nigerian market, we can provide them with a lawyer, an accountant, and someone who knows the rules and regulations, and maybe a partner, which is probably a very good thing if if you're going into it. So it helps de-risk the assessment of a market and investment opportunity.
Right. Given Sri Lanka's strategic location, how can the country enhance its position as a regional economic hub and facilitate greater trade connectivity with other Commonwealth countries?
Well, Sri Lanka, as you said, is strategically placed. It's on a big trade route, always has been a trade route. It's had multiple countries invade it because of its natural resources, but also its incredibly strategic location. And I think as the economy recovers, people will continue to recognize that. It's a very wonderful place to come, and people need no second invitation when they've been here. So it's got great potential. It's had quite a checkered fiscal past in the last 15, 20 years. It's amazing how the current government have begun to restore the fiscal situation here. And with that comes confidence. With that comes people's understanding that it is a good place to invest as the rule of law starts to be applied a bit more openly, as it becomes a free trade economy. These are the sort of places people want to invest in. They also want to invest in places where they feel their staff will be safe and secure. And Sri Lanka is starting to demonstrate this after one or two of the terrible atrocities. So it's got everything going for it, frankly. It's got natural resources, of course, and an incredibly industrious labour force. So it's got great opportunity.
So, Lord Marland, that very nicely segues into my next question, which is about how 60% of the Commonwealth population is under 30 and how youth empowerment is vital for sustainable growth in all Commonwealth countries, including Sri Lanka. So how does your organisation contribute to supporting youth specifically?
Well, you've hit on the two key issues that I permanently talk about, to be honest. One is that population of 60% under 30 in the Commonwealth. That's a third of the world's population, 60% under 30. As I mentioned earlier, in Africa, it's 70%. So this huge youth or young population. Add to that climate change and the issues relating to that. Our generation owes it to your generation and also those younger than you to ensure that, firstly, we create employment in a world which is bringing a whole load of pressures on employment, particularly with AI, tech, etc. How we blend that with keeping people employed without this sort of quantum leap to robots and AI and all that sort of stuff. How that generation responds to the big infusion of tech that employers are going to use, because obviously it reduces the cost of employment. And the second part of this scenario is leaving the world in a better place. And it is probably fair to say our generation has not left, is in danger of not leaving the world in a better place. That's why the drive for sustainability, creating a less dependence on fossil fuels, waste to energy, thinking about how you deal with waste, how you convert it into something that is useful, utilizing the natural resources the world has to reduce the reliance on energy, oil and gas, etc., coal, which have now reached almost breakneck costs and are bringing nations like Sri Lanka, which does not have its own water supply, into very difficult fiscal issues. So that drive for sustainable activity, reducing the climate change issues is fundamental. And I can't believe there's any organization out there that isn't thinking about those two things. But that forms the very platforms on which our organization operates, those two issues. And you've hit the nail on the head in asking that question. I'm very grateful you did.
My pleasure. I think you've had a number of experiences with Sri Lanka, so you yourself have visited a number of times. What are your main impressions of Sri Lanka, and what do you feel are the opportunities based on your first-hand experiences that you've had?
Well, I love Sri Lanka, and people say to me, which are the countries where, of all the ones that you visit, that you love going back to? I would always put Sri Lanka in the top two, to be honest. I only say that because I can't think of another one better, but let's be. The people are incredibly welcoming. The thing I like about Sri Lanka in particular is it respects its past rather than tries to trash it, and it builds upon the history of its past and retains its history, blending it with contemporary lifestyle. It makes it therefore a very attractive place to come and visit as a tourist, but also as a businessman, because people are so friendly, they're very open, they're incredibly hardworking, they're entrepreneurial, which of course I like, and it's just very, very well located. You're not having to travel more than 10 or 11 hours to enjoy yourself. Well, obviously, I'm not here to enjoy myself. I'm here to work incredibly hard. But it's just such a great country. Food is wonderful, and I urge everyone to come and visit it, to be honest.
Brilliant. So you'll be visiting us again, hopefully.
Inshallah, as they say in certain parts of the world. No, I definitely, if I'm allowed to.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time and for answering our questions this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.